From the Weston A. Price Foundation, welcome to the Wise Traditions Podcast for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. We are your source for scientific knowledge and traditional wisdom to help you achieve optimal health. And now here is our host and producer, Hilda Gore.
Hey, Hilda here. How can real food help our bodies heal? What joys are found in farming? And is the best pharmacy on the planet really found in the space between our two ears? This is episode 416, and we have 6 guests today. Hilary Boynton, Tania Teschke, Fallon Morell, Jessie Straight, Robin Shirley, and Navin Hettiarachchi. They recently helped us celebrate our 10 million download milestone at Sally's Farm, where we recorded this live show. We're sharing it with you here because it was so much fun and because each of our guests offered insights on ancestral living in the modern world. They covered stuff like the benefits of raw milk, which organ meat is the best for beginners, why shopping local helps the small farmer and your family, and how to learn to tune into the lessons life is offering you. Before we dive into the conversation, we are doing a giveaway in honor of the 10 million download milestone. Follow us on Instagram for details at Weston A. Price. You may win a ticket to attend our annual Wise Traditions Conference in Kansas City, Missouri, this October the 20th to the 22nd. The vibe you feel on this show is the very feel of the conference. Comfortable, encouraging, stimulating, and nourishing. Go to wisetraditions.org to find out more about the conference and to register today. And don't forget to sign up for our giveaway because you just might get to go for free. And a shout out to the Nutrition Therapy Institute in Denver, Colorado. NTI, the Nutrition Therapy Institute, is a school where students learn to nourish themselves first, while gaining the knowledge and skills to help guide others on their journey to optimal wellness. NTI's Nutrition Therapist Master Certification Program entails 13 courses that include a comprehensive, science-based curriculum that doesn't pander to conventional, mainstream dogmas. Nutrient-dense animal foods, liver, and fermented foods appear often on the recommended food lists. NTI offers in-person classes on site just outside of Denver. Or you can take the entire program online in scheduled group options or self-paced independent options. You choose which learning format works best for you. NTI's flexible scheduling allows you to complete the program in 1 to 3 years. The owner and director of NTI is a longtime former WAPF chapter leader, and she wants to help those in the Weston A. Price community achieve their goal of getting reliable, nonconformist nutrition training. So listeners of this podcast can get half off their first nutrition program course, which is a $475 value. Go to ntischool.com/wisetraditions to take advantage of this exclusive offer and learn more about the school. That's ntischool.com/wisetraditions. This is Hilda Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. So the friends we have here have all been featured on the show before, and so it's kind of a reunion of some amazing people. I'll start from the end here. We have Hilary Boynton. She wrote the Heal Your Gut cookbook. She runs the School of Lunch Training Academy, helping people learn how to cook nutrient-dense meals, whether they're in a school or just wanting to feed their family or a retreat center. She is committed to reversing the trend of chronic illness in the next generation. Yeah, let's give her a hand. Next to her is wonderful Tania Teschke. She is the author of The Bordeaux Kitchen. She has Bordeaux Kitchen natural products, which have like tallow-based elements for your skin care, beauty. I mean, it's lovely, lovely, lovely. She's working on her next book about organ meats. Let's give Tania Teschke a hand. She also runs ancestral tours. She's going to Switzerland this summer, and I happen to be going with her. Excited about that. In the middle is the woman who started the wonderful Weston A. Price Foundation for Food, Farming, and the Healing Arts. She is a prolific author and an advocate for real food for healthy living. Fallon Morell. I feel like I'm going to cry again. I'm not kidding you guys. Every week, whenever we meet, And I interview her for the podcast and I say, welcome to Wise Traditions, Sally. And she says, Hilda, it's so good to be back again. Thank you. And I'm like, you're thanking me? I'm like, you're thanking me? Like, what a privilege. I feel so mentored and honored to know this beautiful woman who embodies what it's like to be a strong woman who understands what healing is all about. So thank you. Thank you, Sally, so much. Okay. Moving on. She doesn't like to be too mushy. Okay. Which I appreciate too. Okay. In the middle here is Jesse Straight from Whiffle Tree Farms. Jesse was one of the first folks I interviewed for the podcast when I needed a farmer. I was like, this guy is local. You guys, I recorded the interview with him. I got home to play it back and it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, how embarrassing. I have to do it again. But this man did not flinch. We did it again. And I'm so thankful for what he's doing. He's here with a couple of his sons. He's got 8 kids and he runs a beautiful farm in Warrenton, Virginia. Give a hand to Jesse Straight. Next is Robin Shirley from Take Back Your Health. She is a phenomenal woman who for many years ran an East Coast and a West Coast conference to help people discover the wonderful benefits of changing your nutrition and your healing modalities. Now she has the Compass Learning Center in Charlottesville, Virginia, where she helps little ones, kind of almost forest school style, explore learning, tactile, and of course, feeding them nourishing food. Robin is just a dear friend and mentor of mine. Let's give her a hand. Navin Hettiarachchi. I love him so much. He, if you might remember, a podcast that we released around Christmas time, there was a man I interviewed who kept saying, every day is Christmas. Every day is Christmas. That's Navin. Yes. He has been a trainer to pro athletes, and he has also helped the sickest among us. He takes cases of people who are so sick and have no recourse and who have often been given a terminal diagnosis, and he helps them find hope and healing in amazing ways. Let's give a hand to Navin Hettiarachchi. Welcome to Wise Traditions. This is a very special podcast. We are celebrating 10 million downloads. And in so doing, we realized, oh my goodness, we haven't done an episode on food, farming, and the healing arts, all 3. So we've invited some panelists to Sally Fallon Morell's farm, P.A. Bowen Farmstead, and we're going to ask them to tell us a little bit about these 3 areas. We're starting with Hilary Boynton. Hilary, I wanted to ask you, what was the health crisis that precipitated your getting into real food for healing?
Okay, so I was the teenager who fell for the fat-free craze in the 90s. As you know, propaganda is pervasive and children are very impressionable. And I was one of those kids, and it was about 10 years that I really stuck to that dogma. And senior year in high school, I had stress fractures in both my femur bones and both my tibias. No one thought about diet. I was a soccer player. And then I went on eating this way, thinking that I had all the answers. And it wasn't until my mid-20s when all of a sudden I was a young newlywed and got pregnant and then had a miscarriage right away. And that went on for 3 years, infertility, and 4 miscarriages over those 3 years. And that was a very heartbreaking time for me. And I really started to question, why is my body not working? What's broken? Why at age 26 can I not hold a baby? But still, nobody was really recommending a dietary change or looking at my diet. And so I went on and ended up, long story short, went through fertility treatments, ended up with triplets, had 3 years of infertility, 3 babies. I was like, woohoo! And then boom, boom, 2 more babies. Surprise, surprise. All of a sudden had 5 kids under 4. Overly blessed. And it really was my 4th baby who at 2 months old was all of a sudden covered in eczema head to toe. And that I was already an overwhelmed, stressed mom. I started to wake up to organic, but it was still, if it said organic, then it was fine. If it was pirate booty, whatever, it was, as long as it was organic, then it was okay. So I ironically was trying to change the school lunches in my town, and I got introduced to this woman who had healed her son of asthma with raw milk. And she was telling me about this Weston Price Foundation, and I should try raw milk for my child. And I had never heard of raw milk. But I was so desperate at this point. I was like, I will try anything. I was sick of Zyrtec twice a day and steroid cream that I knew in my heart as a mama that was a Band-Aid and that was not getting to the root cause. So I put him on raw milk and cod liver oil, and he was healed within 2 months, maybe less. I can't really remember. It was so long ago, but it was fast. And my eyes were completely opened. And then thankfully, Sally was speaking shortly thereafter, and I attended her lecture. And I remember sitting there just jaw-dropping, kind of thinking, oh my gosh, I have been duped my whole life. Like everything just started to click into place, and it all made perfect sense. And I left her lecture, and there were the Amish all spread out with their raw milk and raw cheese and their pastured eggs and beautiful grass-fed beef. And I was like, oh my gosh, the Amish are here. And they, like Hilda, they were like, when she went to Africa, they were like, we need someone to run a co-op in Massachusetts. And I'm like, I'm your girl. I was like in fully. So for 6 years, I ran a co-op out of my home in Massachusetts because I really wanted people to have access to these beautiful nutrient-dense foods that are so healing. So that was really my impetus for change. And as soon as my eyes were opened, I was just like full steam ahead.
And why are you so passionate about helping the next generation?
Good question. So I really believe that at this point in humanity that we don't have a choice, that we need to find a new way forward. Well, really an old way, but return to those old ways. And my journey didn't end with eczema. Our healing journey, I had a child with epilepsy. I had several children with speech delays. I had a husband who was diagnosed with throat cancer. My father had Alzheimer's. So it was a long, very challenging, very stressful and exhausting time. And I don't wish that on anybody. And it's a very unpleasant way to live. There's not a lot of joy when you're chasing health. And I often say we spend all of our time and all of our money chasing health. And so the way that I saw that I could make a difference was to feed children, not only my own children, but as many children as I can, because we know that children are our most precious resource. And the opportunity, so I stepped into the work of feeding children at school where my kids were attending school and became the lunch lady. But the opportunity to change the trajectory of health for a child when you start to feed them this way, these nourishing ways at age 4 or 5 years old, and you have them through high school is huge. We have their stomachs for 6 hours a day. We're feeding them 30% of their meals, and we're sourcing locally, and we're bringing farmers in. We're bringing the parents in. So it's this really beautiful opportunity, and we're in our 6th year. I can tell you wholeheartedly that this is possible, that we can do this at all schools, in all homes. And so I really just am on a mission to spread this word. I'm forever grateful for the foundation for changing my life and hopefully the lives of many, many people, as many as possible.
Thank you, Hilary. Let's give her a hand. So, Tanya, you wrote The Bordeaux Kitchen. I'm curious what the French know about food that we don't know.
Okay, well, just to give you a little background, we lived in Bordeaux for 3 years. My husband is with the State Department. He's here today, totally standing there. Thank you for supporting me. So we had been to various posts before then that we went to Bordeaux, France with our two girls who were then, 5 and 7 or something like that. And I really felt like I needed to up my game in terms of cooking and also understand my own health and improve my own health. And I came to know the ancestral health world as I did some research and listening to podcasts, and eventually came across Hilda's Wise Traditions. But so what I learned while I was there, chasing winemakers in the field, asking them questions about how they make wine, and because in Bordeaux, everyone makes wine, and everyone in France, not everyone, but so many people know how to cook. And we all know this intuitively, but we kind of forget it in our fast-paced world, that it means so much to just slow down and take the time to enjoy a meal around the table with family and friends, meal and wine. And so the French do this very well as sort of this is the normal course of events for them. And I just found that to be, in addition to seasonal eating, they shop open air markets once or twice a week. It's kind of a lovely tradition, and eating at the grandmother's house every week. So that's something that I really picked up. And actually, what I also wanted to say was that every culture has its traditions in this way. And what I learned from the French, too, is that they're not squeamish about eating organ meats, which are the most nutrient-dense foods that we can eat. And what I realized, though, was that it's not just French culture. Every culture has its own traditional recipes around the world. And if you ask anyone from any culture, and ask them, does your grandmother make or did she make organ meats, for example, or did you have organ meats in your culture? And they will absolutely say yes. I ask everyone I encounter from every culture here in the U.S., but a lot of people have dropped those traditions, unfortunately.
I have a follow-up question. So, given that you've enjoyed organ meats and you've studied about them in different cultures and stuff, what's your favorite organ meat to prepare? And maybe even what do you recommend that we get started with?
Well, so the gateway drug to organ meats would be liverwurst, I would say, because it's nutrient dense, it's highly palatable. Kids love it. That's what I ate for the first time as a little girl with my family in Germany, because the family slaughters a pig every year and then they have all the wurst and everything. And so liverwurst, they also kinds that you can get made with cream in them, so it's sweeter. So, and then liver is just the most nutrient dense food, I think, on the planet. So beef liver, lamb liver, chicken liver. And actually, just for lunch today, we had liver at home. Not the kids. They like liverwurst, but not liver in the pan. So that's a little tougher sell. But thymus is the one that I really love in terms of flavor. It's not very flavorful. The thymus gland is it's the immune gland. It produces the T cells for the immune system. So if you're fighting infection or you want to build up your immune system, the thymus, which in French is riz de veau. Veau is veal. So riz is the name of it's basically, we call it sweetbreads. So anyway, I recommend that. And every chef in France knows how to make it. It's always on the menu if you go to a nice restaurant, and even in the US in some places. However, even in France, they use, in most restaurants, they don't use tallow to cook it in, which I would recommend, or duck fat. They often use seed oil. So that's something that I'm trying to ask chefs as I go around France, asking them for their recipes to say, well, why don't you just use some tallow?
How do you say tallow in French?
Suif. Suif. Mm-hmm. S-U-I-F.
Merci, mon ami. Merci. Let's give her a hand. So, Sally, you were an advocate for living and eating more ancestrally before you got into farming. And you've been doing farming now for 14 years on this spot, right? What do you wish that more people knew about farming?
Thank you, Hilda. First, there's something I just want to make sure everyone has talked to Jeffrey or knows he's back there. Sweetheart, are you there? So Jeffrey Morell is my husband, and I can't take credit for the vision that created this farm. He has spent the last 14 years clearing, making silvopastures. He's built 3 miles of roads on the farm, so all in his 80s and 90s. Okay, now what was that question?
I wish more people knew about farming.
Farming is very hard work, and it's also expensive. And the only way we're going to keep our farms is if you all pledge to the 50% campaign and spend 50% of your food dollars supporting farmers who are doing things right. Because because mostly they're losing money. They either need to get started, you either need to have a lot of ready labor, like 8 children, or interns, like Joel has. He figured this out. Just be this scintillating personality, or you need some kind of income to make it work. And my family in California is in wine, and it took my dad about 30 years to make his winery profitable. And I just remember him saying, when am I going to stop putting money in this thing? And it took 30 years. So it takes time, and you just need the support of people buying your product.
And why should people bother? I mean, what difference does it make to us? Why don't we just shop at Costco?
Yeah, right.
That's not what I think we should do, but I'm just tossing it out.
Yeah. Well, first of all, a lot of the things that make us healthy, you cannot get at Costco. You can't get raw milk, for one thing. You can't get lard. You can't get grass-fed butter. To me, commercial pork is about the most disgusting thing you could eat. You can't get naturally raised pork. So you just can't get those things. And the people who do food in this country, I always say that our food policy is run by people who use non-dairy creamer. So you just can't expect them. They just don't understand, they just don't understand. And I really had to laugh. Jeffrey and I went to a meeting. We were being kind of harassed about some of the things we were doing here. And we went to this meeting to kind of hear what they were saying. And the guy running the meeting, he said, I just had to go out and get some fresh creamer. I just couldn't believe it. So, yeah, you see what I mean? That's what's important, make sure the creamer is fresh. So. They just don't understand. There's not a chemical they don't like. They're propagandized by the industry. They truly believe that if we had small farms, we would starve. While everyone was moaning about the State Department and the McCarthy hearings and everything about the communists in the State Department, where they really were going was the Department of Agriculture. And Marx's vision was animals as units of production, the industrialization of agriculture. That's Marxist policy. And that's what our agriculture department believes in. They wouldn't realize it was Marxist Communist Party, but I mean, look at our dairy farmers. They are not allowed to sell to the public. I mean, even in Russia, you can sell to the public. So it's just all backwards. And the only way this will change because what we have going on is what I've often said, the natural selection of the wise and people who continue to eat these industrial products and the industrial seed oils and the industrial sweeteners and all this processed food. Eventually, and it sounds cruel, but this is how nature works. They will die out. So we don't want that to happen. We want as many people to survive this very trying time as possible.
Thank you so much, Sally. This is Hoda Labrada Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. Coming up, a farmer who studied theology at UVA shares what brings him the most joy on the farm. And then we hit the healing arts part of the program, the bit that touches on how our mental, emotional, and spiritual health is intertwined with the physical.
You're listening to the Wise Traditions podcast from the Weston A. Price Foundation. We pause now to recognize our sponsors.
Upgraded formulas. A lot of us spend a good deal of money on supplements each month. If you're in that boat, then have you ever thought about how important it would be to know your levels and how those affect your performance and your health overall? And wouldn't it be great if you also knew what you were actually absorbing or not absorbing in terms of nutrients and what you have too much of? Well, now there's a way to accurately test all of that. I'm talking about Upgraded Formulas, Upgraded Hair Test Kit, and Consultation, which helps you identify and vanquish hidden deficiencies that affect thyroid function, adrenal health, and much more. Upgraded Formulas also makes and sells minerals that absorb really, really easily to help you address any problems. It's a super simple and effective way to get a handle on what's going on in your body. You just send in your hair sample and make an appointment with a consultant to review the lab results. So check out the test and consultation process at upgradedformulas.com and save 20% on your first purchase with the code WISE at checkout. That's upgradedformulas.com and the code word WISE. And a quick shout out to Optimal Carnivore. Organ meats are some of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. This is awesome. But realistically, it's sometimes hard for folks to source high-quality organ meat and to understand how to prepare it well. So the founders of Optimal Carnivore started sourcing 100% grass-fed organ meats from New Zealand, freeze-drying the organs and encapsulating them into convenient bovine gelatin capsules. They've created a variety of products, including a unique blend of 9 different organs in their grass-fed organ complex, a powerful combination including beef liver, brain, thymus, heart, kidney, spleen, pancreas, lung, and gallbladder. It's a real nose-to-tail solution because each organ contains its own unique benefits and nutritional profile and provides a large range of nutrients that supports all of the major organs and glands. And it's perfect for people who are traveling or still trying to develop an appreciation for organ meats. Plus, Optimal Carnivore plants 1 tree for every product sold, which helps the environment. So go to amazon.com/optimalcarnivore and place your order today. They have a grass-fed organ complex, a grass-fed bone marrow, a grass-fed liver product, bone and joint restore, and brain nourish. And use the code Weston10 to save 10% on all products. That's amazon.com/optimalcarnivore and the code Weston10. This is Hoda Labrada Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. Like we're a part of Team Humanity. Have you heard Alan Savory use that phrase? I love it so much. So Team Humanity on this lifeboat of nutritional, healthy living. Okay. Jesse, so I know you went to UVA. You got a degree in theology. How did you end up switching to farming, or is it the same thing?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Hilda, for hosting this, and Sally for all your work. You've been so influential on me and my wife and our family. Yeah. So I guess the backstory was I knew I wanted to do something great. I wanted to do something worth the life I'd been given and the opportunities I'd been given. So that was sort of the beginning, but I was sort of lost and kind of tossing about for what to actually do. So I was doing theology and pre-med at UVA, just trying to find my way of what I could actually do with my life that was worth it. And basically, to make the story a bit shorter, I stumbled across Wendell Berry at one point and read, a friend passed along a short novel of his, and that really sort of captured my imagination. And so he was sort of the poet that cast this vision of a good life, an integrated life that would be in some ways like countercultural to the modern life we have, which kind of takes all the different parts of your life and pulls it apart in different directions. And that made a ton of sense to me. And of course, his vision is very agrarian, though you don't sort of need to live an agrarian life, but that's his vision. And that captured my imagination. And from there, I then came across Joel Salatin. And so Joel was a bit of the sort of nuts and bolts mentor to me. And eventually it came together. I couldn't have, in the midst of my sort of confusion, I thought there was sort of no way out of the darkness, but it did come together thanks to God. And for the reasons that in retrospect, it makes so much sense. But at the time, I was just stumbling around with my hands out. But in retrospect, I wanted to do something good in the world. And in the context of our food and farming, it was very apparent that there was much that could be done, even in one family's small way, in the context of our bad food and farming that's conventional. And the other side of things, I had a history of enjoying physical work outside. It sort of came like this is, and then the pleasure of working with biological life that comes out to actually be part of the system where the sun hits a plant and grows a plant and an animal eats it and it poops and all this stuff. And I get to be actually mixed up in that system was really exciting and intuitively compelling. And then the other idea, this integrated life. So like the way in which my family, like my son's here, could be integrated into my life. It wasn't I sort of had a job that was incoherent for my kids and my family, but was totally tied together. I walked out my door and there's my work and here's my family with me. That was also very compelling. Again, part of that sort of whole like Wendell Berry vision of an integrated life. And then also I had a history of sort of being an entrepreneur. So the idea of like having my own business was really fun. I like that idea. So I think those four things, doing a little bit of good, the physical work outside, the integrated life, and sort of having my own business were, in retrospect, like, oh, of course that makes sense. But at the time, I was totally lost. But that's kind of how it came about.
And so it sounds like a lot of it brings you pleasure. What would you say brings you the most joy on the farm?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that do. But I think the thing that brings me the most joy, if I were to sort of like set a scene for you, would be imagine a day like today, like a beautiful spring day. Sun is shining, cool breeze is blowing, the grass is lush, the cattle are fat and slick, and munching on that beautiful lush pasture that maybe my sons and I just moved them to. And I can look back and I can see where the cattle were even 4-6 days ago. And I can see the grass is already popping up because of the way we're giving it proper rest. And I can see the health of the animals, the health of the land. I can be doing the work with my family. And then I know that I'm providing some of the best food. So all those things would be like, that would be the perfect moment or the perfect day to be a part of that. And like I said before, the really special privilege to have my actual work be such that I'm playing a role in the coming forth of life. The sun will shine, things will grow, animals will eat, but I actually get to play a role in choreographing that to its fittest expression. So getting to play a role in that is really special. And these are forces that are way beyond my control. When I die, these things will continue going on. And I only have a small part to play in this, but I have a little part in it, which is really, really special. That would be sort of like my best moments of the week kind of thing.
Sounds so lifting and life-giving. Let's give Jessie a hand. So you see, we've done food with Hilary and Tanya, farming with Sally and Jessie, and now we're moving to the healing arts. So Robin, I wanted to ask you about the intersection of physical health and mental, emotional, even spiritual health.
I'm so glad you asked me this question. I think everyone in their life experiences a moment where you're experiencing so much pain that you have to ask the question, why is this happening? And why is this so painful? How am I going to get out of this spot that I'm in? And what can I do? Like, what am I supposed to do? What am I going to do today, tomorrow, the next day to get to a different spot? Because this is really, really painful. And for me, that moment came when I was 11 years old and I was diagnosed with systemic juvenile idiopathic arthritis. And I was in so much pain, it was debilitating and it kept me in bed, kept me from leaving the house. And if you are curious enough, if you're quiet enough and you listen to what happens after you ask those questions, you will get nudges and you'll get messages. And you have basically opened the door to your soul. If you listen to those messages and the nudges, you might then come to a place where you feel brave enough to ask another set of questions. What do I need my life to look like? What do I want my life to look like for it to be worth it? Worth all of this pain? Am I brave enough to move towards that? Even if I can't do what I thought I was going to do with my life, well, can I rethink this? Can I do something else that will also make me happy? And then if you can listen, and if you're brave enough, you start to get into a communication with your soul and your spirit. And once you reconnect those wires between your physical and your spiritual, personally, I think that the spiritual journey, it's like a tidal wave or a domino effect, and it's inevitable. It's impossible to ignore. You can't get to a spot where life is too painful and you want it to be better, and the spiritual journey doesn't follow, I don't think, if you open that doorway through those questions. So that was how it happened for me. And I think that at this point, I've come to a spot with my spiritual beliefs where I understand, I remember who I was, why I'm here, what I'm here for, why it's painful, the lessons, the silver lining, the beauty that comes in waves when you're not expecting it. And I can understand how eternal life is and how fleeting this moment is. So the pain isn't really my focus. It isn't the thing I'm trying to avoid anymore. It's not the thing I'm trying to get away from. For me, that was how the spiritual journey evolved.
The longer we do this podcast, the more we have conversations like these about how it's all intertwined, right? The physical, the emotional, the spiritual, the mental. And it's beautiful to hear your journey. And I know you have 2 little ones. So tell me, how do you help them feel safe and kind of grow in this spiritual, emotional, mental, physical dimension?
I read a really wise passage that said, children grow up valuing what the adults around them valued. So I could sit here and I could think of 100 little things you could do for your children's health, but it just boils down to valuing what you think is important in life and letting your children see you value those things. What that does is twofold. It helps the children see a good example. It also holds you accountable as well. It benefits you because if you're waking up every morning and believing the best thing I can do for my kids today is to value what I believe is important in this life, then every day you're asking yourself, what can I do in this moment to realign with what's important to me? Self-care, taking care of the home, taking care of your finances, security for the family, taking care of the land, community, reconnecting with people. If those are the things you value and that's the way you live your life, then your children will grow up and they will model that behavior as well. And they will carry on those values, I think.
Yes. Thank you so much, Robin. I always say more is caught than taught. And I feel like that's what you were getting at, right? Like it's not about trying to inculcate a lesson into the children, but to model it and to live it. So Navin, I'm so glad you're here, my friend. And I know that you've helped pro athletes recover from injury, improve their performance. What is the role of mindset in all of that?
First, I want to say thank you to you. Thank you to Sally. Actually, I want to say thank you to Hilda, Sally, and Western Enterprise. I just want to say thank you for you guys and Western Enterprise changing my life and my patients and my clients and my parents. But I want to say thank you to everyone who's here, because the fact that you are here, you are awake. You know we have another choice for life to live and not to struggle. So congratulate you that you are aware and open to listen to this information, right? This is not the information that we get to hear. This is not a conversation that 99.9% of the people would understand and open to listen to. So congratulations. Sorry. So to answer Hilda's question, like literally when I was working for the Washington Redskins as an intern like 20 years ago, so say there's two athletes with back pain, right? And the doctor going to say, okay, you have to rest 12 weeks, take this medicine. And all of a sudden, one athlete decide, no, that's doctor telling me, he's comparing me to the rest of the population. He's telling me 2 weeks, 12 weeks. I'm going to get better and I'm going to play next Sunday. And athlete plays, not only they plays, there's no pain. He's 100%. He's not taking any supplements or medicine or injections. You're like, wow, that's a miracle. It's actually not a miracle. It's within us. All of us can do it. The fact that when the guy in the white coat or the doctor say, oh, it's going to take you 2 months. Oh, you have diabetes. Oh, you are sick. Oh, you have a disease. Then all of a sudden we believe in that. Oh, I got liver problem. I should lay down on the couch. I got high blood pressure. I should feel this. So we go to the Google and we listen to those symptoms. And now we manifest those symptoms, right? Where I seen these athletes, they're supposed to be out for 9 months with a torn ligament. So imagine a table without a leg cut off, but they're playing in 8 weeks, right? Like they're defining all the science, all the evidence, all the conventional medicine by just believing in self, right? Like we gotta know that we don't go to the healer to heal, get healed. The healer give you guidance of how to heal. But in America or in conventional countries, we go to the healer like, hey, give me a surgery, give me a pill. In these countries are the only place where we cut. Oh, you got an ACL, let's cut it. Oh, you got this, let's cut the liver. Like, no, if you go to Tanzania with Maasai people, they don't cut anything. They just say, hey, like Tanya and everybody in this panel said, healing within us, slow down, come to the human point, be human, and we heal within ourselves. We have everything that we need. That's something that all of us understanding, but I'm here to share with you that my professional athletes who's making $40 million a year plus, when they are ready, like you guys are ready, when they're here, ready to hear the message, they're like able to heal just like this. And when they are not, just like our rest of the society, they take the normal time. 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 10 months, whatever. But I want to share with you that you are the healer. You got all the tools, all the techniques. In fact, in between these ears are the best pharmacy. We know through studies that functional MRI, this brain can create anything you want, any pharmaceuticals, any supplements through here. So believe in that, trust in that, and share with the kids. Like she just said, if we believe that, our kids gonna start believing what we say and what we hear. And then when we share with that, it's gonna reflect back to us. Then we gonna start believing it. All of a sudden, we are functioning as our ancestors, like Hilda said, right? They function well. When we went to hang out with Maasai people, 86, 90-year-old, stripping the animals, squatting down, they're like, wow, this is incredible. And that's where my journey started.
So when you were first talking about these amazing athletes, I thought, well, certainly there's a difference between them and the general populace. Like, I wonder if they do so well because their bodies are ripped and they're strong. Or is it, Navin, that you were saying that this kind of healing is possible for all of us wherever we're at?
Exactly. This is possible for every single person, from an 8-year-old kid to a 90-year-old patient. I've seen them when they're called incurable, when the conventional medicine has no supplements, no surgeries, no diagnosis. I've seen the people's will within them. They realize, oh, I have all the tools within me to heal. They just come out of it, and not just come out of it, right there. So conventional medicine, you're in the middle of the sea. They're just keeping your life vest. They're just throwing your life vest. Hey, your symptoms are good. Just stay there. No, I don't want to be in the middle of the sea. Like, what is that? That's not life. I want to come into the land and I want to sing and dance and have fun, right? So when I see these patients, they really realize like, oh, these doctors or these whoever just give me a life vest. I'm not living a human life. I'm not dancing and singing and enjoying and seeing and just enjoying this human life. So when they realize that, when they are ready to do that, when they come into the land on their own, game over. So to answer your question, we have everything that we need. You have everything that you need. And we are the healer within us.
Tony Robbins, watch out. Let's give Navin a hand.
So as you know, I like to end the show by posing the question I like to pose at the end. If the listener could do one thing to improve their health, what should they do? I like to ask that because I love for people to walk away with an actionable tip. So we'll go down the line and then we'll go for the toast. We'll start with you, Hilary. If the listener could do one thing to improve their health, what would you recommend that they do?
Okay, well, this is a little bit twofold, but find your local farmers and decide to step into your kitchens and learn to cook.
Eat liver.
Super simple.
Eat butter.
I would say to make a realistic goal of adding X number of meals more that you'll cook per week. And maybe even including that meals that you might make for family or friends that would be in need.
I would recommend
Exhaling.
I would say the healing starts within you and nobody else outside. Not your doctor, not your husband, not your wife, not your parents. It's you. It's all you. Bring it in you and exhale.
Thank you. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. Our guests today were Hilary Boynton, Tania Teschke, Fallon Morell, Jessie Straight, Robin Shirley, and Navin Hettiarachchi. Check out their websites. For Hilary, it's schooloflunch.com. For Tanya, it's bordeauxkitchen.com. Fallon Morell has nourishingtraditions.com. Jessie Straight you can find at whiffletreefarmva.com. Robin Shirley has takebackyourhealthretreats.com. And Navin Hettiarachchi is at navinhealth.com. And I'm Hilda Labrador, the host and producer of the Wise Traditions podcast for the Weston A. Price Foundation. I'm at holistichilda.com, and you can register there for my upcoming Holistic and Happy event at Polyface Farms in Virginia on June 10th this year. For the transcript for this podcast episode, visit our website, westonaprice.org, and click on the podcast page. And now for a recent letter to the editor from our Wise Traditions Journal. Sandy had this to say. Yesterday, I went to the Weston Price website to order DVDs and flash drive recordings of the Wise Traditions Conference. 3 times I tried to purchase the recordings, and 3 times my Visa card was declined. Finally, my card was blocked. I called my bank because I use this card very regularly, and this has never happened before. They did some research and said that my card had been given a low rating, which caused it to decline. The bank manually removed the low rating, and I was able to complete my purchase. So my husband immediately drove to the bank to speak with a manager. He said that Visa is now putting their own ratings on credit and debit card purchases and was denying my transaction based on their own criteria. I could not make another purchase until the bank intervened. The manager said it is now regularly happening that accounts may be flagged by Visa if, for example, customers purchase a gun with their card. The bank manager agreed with my husband that this is the beginning of Visa implementing the social credit scores being tied to our ability to transact business. Evidently, Visa does not think I should be doing business with Weston Price. I wanted you to be aware so that people know that they still have recourse if they go directly to their bank. This is a letter from Sandy in Tennessee. Thank you so much, Sandy, for bringing this to our attention. I had no idea. You too can write a letter to the editor on any topic. What the podcast means to you, what you enjoyed of a recent chapter gathering in your locale, or something that you also want to bring to our attention that's happening in the wide, wide world. Just email us at info@westonaprice.org and put letter to the editor in the subject line, and your letter may appear in an upcoming journal. As you know, all members get journals quarterly. You can become a member too by going to westinaprice.org and clicking on the Join Now button and join at the discounted price of only $30 a year by using the code POD10. And that's it, my friend. Thank you so much for listening. Stay well and keep your feet on the ground and your face to the sun.
On behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation, thanks for listening. We have many free resources to support you on your health journey. Visit westinaprice.org to find podcasts, articles, videos, and more. You can also find a local chapter near you for help in finding sources of great food. We invite you to support the Foundation's mission of education, research, and activism by becoming a member. Thanks again, and take care. Wise Traditions is a project of the Weston A. Price Foundation for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. The content on this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended to substitute for the advice provided by your doctor or other healthcare professional. It is not intended to be, nor does it constitute healthcare or medical advice.